All right. Mike is hot. Hot Mike. What's up? Welcome to Lab After Dark. I'm your host. Joshua. Good to see you. Good to be here. Please hit that like button on the way in. What is up, everybody? Good to see you. Good to be here. It is January 20th. Well, for some of you, it's January 21st. Inauguration Day, my grandma's birthday, something about Martin Luther King, the mail didn't run, banks aren't open, that kind of stuff. So I digress, and I guess it's back to business as usual tomorrow, which is great. Yeah, so it's great to see you. I will discuss a couple of different things, but one thing tonight is I do want to discuss this interview with, or I don't know, I guess it was an interview with SF Investigates. I've never really mixed it up with him. I've seen kind of him from a distance. I don't even think he probably doesn't even know who I am, which is a good thing. I like that. Anonymity is key for, I've never mixed it up with him. I've never had an opinion. I've known that he's been in a lot of, he's somehow seems to float around a lot of cases. And I learned a little bit more about him tonight. And I'll discuss that. I'll play some of the interview. I'm not going to play it all because, well, I don't want to, not because there's no other reason. I just don't want to play the whole thing. I don't want to go through it. You guys have seen it probably 100 times already. And, but I very much had, and then, the chat, and then people downloading the chat and putting it on a spreadsheet, like they know what they're doing. I've never seen stuff like that. That's crazy to me. And I mean, I know that the chat was riled up, and typically when I knew that was going to happen, I knew that the chat would be lively. I expected that, and whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's sort of normal. I don't know. Welcome to the internet. It's kind of what happens. Hold on. Let me just event list alert box. God dang it. I was trolled and clowned. I think a lot of people were. I think it kind of turned into, I don't know. It seemed a little more split than I had imagined it would be. That it just seemed like I was there, I was watching it. I thought it was a respectful conversation between the three of them. I don't think that the conversation was actually respectful towards the case or the investigation. And I knew what SF was going to do. I knew what he thought that his home run was going to be. He crowbarred it in as many times as possible. And, it's take a big swing at this and ignore, that where there's smoke, there's fire, type situation. But I knew what he was going to do. I knew what his talking point was going to be. Now I didn't know that he was, for lack of a better term, a paid informant, if you would. I didn't know that. I think I suspected it. I knew that he was in their corner. And make no mistake about it, he can say whatever he wants. All right, you don't have to stay, Rhonda Smith. I mean, you don't have to watch. I don't care what you do. It's not going to force you to do anything. Don't want to watch it again. All right, cool. Jesus. Let's see. Yeah, well, I'm going to play some of it so I can react to it. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. I don't care. I get it. I already said that it's been done 100 times. I don't go live directly after these things. Sometimes I don't even talk about them. Sometimes I go 2 days, 3 days. I don't know. But sometimes I just don't. But I wanted to about this because I was sort of curious, and Seth, send me a text when you can. Game over. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, I mean, that's really that's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you my thoughts about it. Like I said, I didn't find it very respectful from the fact of, I didn't think what he was there to do was to be equal and fair and balanced. And that's not his job. His job is to protect the Proudfoots. I heard him say his job is for Sebastian. But I don't believe that either. I believe that he's there because he's paid to do this. Create sort of chaos, kind of backdoor things, maybe pretend to know more than he does, or no, not more, or I don't know. It seemed like he didn't know anything about the actual case, or that he's nowhere on the case. And I thought that the way that he has portrayed himself for some time has been that he is working alongside law enforcement. I didn't get that out of him. And, I'll react to that too, but I don't know. I wasn't going to do this. Hold on a second. I wasn't even going to talk about this because, there's no, you're either on a side or you're not, it feels like, within that chat. And look, there are very clear sides. Very few people are, I guess you could say, right down the middle about it. I'm certainly not, but not because of something that, not of some preconceived notion or what I've thought about the character of somebody. I just, sometimes I think that Occam's razor is the way to be. And that's how I feel about it. Now, if, I don't care how you feel either way. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and you can feel however you want. I've never been one to try and sway people one way or the other. I just give you my opinion, what I think about it. And sometimes people agree with me, and sometimes people don't. And a lot of people aren't shy about it when they say, Josh, I don't agree with you. And I say, that's fine. A lot of people don't. And I don't agree with you. Fair enough. Let's move on. But that's not what this is. This was an interview. And I'm glad that they kept it as civil as possible. They kept it as civil as possible. The chat wasn't really that civil. Some of it was. What's funny is, though, after what happens is after the show, people start going, can you believe how nasty that chat is or was? And then while their chat is sitting there going, yeah, those people are pieces of shit or whatever. Everybody's, I don't know what he was doing. He was asked to come on. They had this big old beef on Twitter. It was contentious, which is really the only reason I went to watch, because I thought there would be a little bit more fireworks than that. I don't know. I didn't see many of that. But I didn't think he came off particularly well. It was going so fast. I don't know how anybody could tell what was going on. There was a lot of nothing really going on. I think that the debate that they were going to have didn't actually happen. It wasn't. If the point of what they were doing was an actual debate, that's not what it was. It was a conversation. It was fine. But what I'm telling you is that it became for SF, who walked into the lion's den, I would imagine, which is, it's probably advantageous for him and behooves him to do these sort of things to get his name out there, because he apparently is a very, and I mean very, expensive private eye. A very expensive private eye. To the tune of a retainer of about 15 G's, which allows him to travel back and forth. He says, I don't know what a PI costs. I don't know why you would need a private eye that costs that much when law enforcement is on the case. I mean, if he was like, I want to do this out of the goodness of my heart, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that somebody like him can't do what he wants and make a little money, or I don't know I don't even know what the hell he does. He says he was a photographer, a private eye, this or that. Fine. But I don't know. I think that maybe he misrepresented himself. Possibly. I don't know. That's how I feel. Because I see him tweet a lot. I do follow him on Twitter. He uses a lot of big words like anti-slap, anti-slap is not a big, but the meaning of the anti-slap is what he's talking about. And he uses those kind of legal terms, and that, he's filing appeals on injunctions and injunctions on appeals, and, the reverse Uno card or whatever it is. That it was just, I don't know. It seems like a lot of gibberish. I can't really keep up with his Twitter because it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But like I said, the reason that I was kind of interested in it was to see two different sides. I thought that this was going to be a good conversation. I thought it would be an intelligent conversation. Some people liked it. It was cordial. But once again, I didn't think it was fair, because you can't ask the guy's opinion like that. I mean, you can ask him his opinion, but if he's there saying, look, I'm impartial, I'm this, I'm that, none of that can be true if you're receiving money. Okay? And if you're paid, like if you're actually getting paid by the family, which is what that sounds like, you can't have an open mind. He's there to protect them. He says he's not, which is what he should say. because whoever it is doling him out an insane amount of cash for finding out nothing. But what he's doing is, in the court of public opinion, he is splitting hairs. And that's what he's trying to do. And that's what he's done. No doubt. No doubt about that. That was completely, that was great. And God bless the people that donated to a fantastic organization. That's really what it is. However, but let me just say this again. I don't know much about SF. I was around for the Kylie Rodney thing. I had heard about him. He said that he was hired by the family. I don't know if he was or not. I'll take him at his word. However, I do have trouble taking him at his word about some stuff because of some of the things that I heard tonight. Just doesn't seem to. He's kind of one of those guys that, he never kind of comes out and fully says what, well, let me say this, or let me say that, or let me do this, or let me do, and the double talk, he seemed sort of good at it. I mean, I think people get kind of annoyed, but he does that sometimes. He was double talking, no question. So, I don't exactly know how much he got, but it seemed like a decent amount. No, what open mind this dude can't even. Like I said, this was the first time that I've listened to him at length at all. I've heard him a couple different times. Other places I didn't listen much because I think he's kind of one of those Twitter finger kind of guys that he's just like, he just he puts in work on Twitter, and I'm never one of those, this person just tweeted this or this person tweeted that. I could care less, unless he's got like the cure for some disease that will alter the world. I'll catch it when I log on. Other than that, it's really not. It just doesn't seem like he has a lot to say. But that being said, I will react to this. What's up? Miss Brittany sent you. Salute. Appreciate it. What's up, Muscles? Good to see you. Retha, Linda, Mischief all around me. What's up? Keep up the chatter. Good to see you. Did I see Sinner in the chat? What up, Sinner? Good to see you, bud. I don't like Devil's Advocate much. The movie was pretty good, though. Al Pacino's good. All right. Let's just hop in. And I know, like I said, I know you guys have been watching this shit all day. But let me let me get a crack at this. All right, let's do it. Why am I right in the Robin? Let me move. Whoop, I won't move that. I'll move this. I'll just put myself up in this little corner here. Let's see. La da dee da 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 da. I like that song. Check this out. It's like I'm the third wheel. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What are you doing down there? What are you doing? What are you doing down there? What's up? All right. Dummy. Yeah. Pacino is the bomb, dude. I like that. I've always liked Al Pacino. All right. How does this start? Like I said, I'm not gonna play the whole thing. It's 2.5 hours. Who has the time for that shit? I'm not teabagging him. Not today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Lore Lads, the official podcast of the Lore Lodge. We have a pretty special show for you guys tonight. A couple of weeks ago, over on Twitter, after we did one of our Sebastian Rogers live streams, I got into a bit of an interaction with Steve Fisher here, who's a private investigator working on the case. It was a little bit tense, but I think we've gotten to a good spot where we agree we're doing this for the right reasons. We're in the same place mentally, even if we, at the moment, disagree on what may have happened in this case. So, I think what I have been wondering this whole time is, where is the other side coming from in this? And I thought there's no better way to get to the bottom of that, no better way to understand some of the claims that have come out from you, Steve, than to sit here and have you on the show to ask you. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, I'll give you the floor.
Let me see here. Hold on. This was the best part of the interview. No, I'm just kidding. I need to fix something. I can't find the mouse. Highlighted chat. Give me a second here. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. They're not really. I just forgot to do it because I'm lazy. All right, boom. Can I now? Where is it? Where is it? Highlighted chat. Where is you? Where are you? I know you're here, you bastard. Where are you at? Highlighted chat. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing? There we go. Joshua had done much better. Really disappointing interview. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I would interview him because have I seen the scent of a woman? Have I seen, you're out of order. You're out of order. Don't tell me I'm out of order. You're out of order. Of course I've seen it. What is it that you disagree about? We haven't even started. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is part of the interview, I guess. Let's fast forward.
There was
all right, there it is.
Law enforcement.
Right.
We're mainly looking for like downed aircraft or their aircraft fleet, and one department being the Attorney General's office, and missing persons ran through there. And there would be searches that would be conducted that using the state aircraft, and so that was my first kind of introduction to it. And then from there, I went as a fixed wing pilot to a private team in Texas that
wait a minute.
This is 20.
Is it me or does SF look like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons with a shave? I like that movie. I mean, kind of, sort of. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. Hold on. Harry and the Hendersons. I can see that. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do something. This is all going to be worth it in the end. I promise. I mean, at least I think so. Trust me, it'll be worth it. In the end, it will. Trust me. Just trust me. Trust me. Yep, you heard that right. Okay, here we go. Bam. Holy crap. That's huge. I mean, kind of. I mean, I don't know. A little bit. Why are you here? What is it that's going on? What are you doing? Please don't sing. Please don't chat. Please don't watch my show. Please. I don't know. What else do you want? Please just hush or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'll do whatever I want. I'm not even sure that I recognize you. Please don't sing. I'll do whatever I want, whenever I want. You want petty? I'll show you petty. I'm a petty officer. I mean, I think it's the eyes, really, but whatever. All right, let's get rid of Harry for a bit. Harry. Oh wait, that's not Harry. I'll do whatever. I mean, I don't even get it. The nose. Okay, I can see I can see it. I get it. It's fine. It's good. I get exactly what's going on here. All right, Harry. I'm gonna ask you to go just for a little bit. Love you, buddy. Can you believe Josh? He compared SF to a Bigfoot, not just any Bigfoot.
4 years ago, 25 years ago. So this is before thermal drones and whatnot. So we were mainly looking for like downed aircraft or, people that were lost in really remote areas using FLIR and whatnot. And so I always have stayed with search and rescue. And I started, search and rescue involves a degree of investigation, right? Yeah. It has to usually, you have investigators working with you because it's usually you're a branch, or extension for that search of law enforcement.
Right.
Okay.
And
moving along.
And she is an amazing investigator, and there's absolutely no reason for me to be involved. And one, I mean, she brought me in, she didn't need my help. And two, it'd be weird, it just wasn't an option. I wasn't going, I hadn't talked to Chris or anything. Right. But what I was doing, just as a civilian, is I was putting on my Twitter some based off search and rescue, theory and analysis and planning, areas that I thought were search grids that were smart to search for Sebastian, based on some decision point analysis and whatnot. And through that,
there were people that stayed and watched this whole thing.
I did get some calls from various people that were close to the investigation, including people in law enforcement, and I talked to them, and then I concluded the Riley Strain case. I did a 293-page final report on that. And
200 and what does he turn a report like that into? I'm curious about that. 200 and what? Who wants that? Who wants that?
So a couple months ago, or it's been more than a couple months now, but one time when I had come out on one of the trips to Nashville, because I was going back and forth, I went out to Hendersonville at like 5:30 in the morning just to see the area. I just wanted to see it, and I realized how different it was from what I had really imagined, and how kind of that, that drone searching really wasn't a possibility, in those conditions, because it's just so thick and everything out there, and it kind of changed things. And through that, I got in touch with Chris at one point, and Chris and I talked several times. He was very, rightfully so. He didn't. I don't think he knows completely. He didn't know who to trust and whatnot. And we talked here and there. And then, I met with him on one of my other trips out there. We met for. He had me in his house. He said, "Just come to the house and let's sit down and talk." And that's kind of how it started. He didn't hire me there. But we started talking more, and then as I came back, and I also have two other open cases in East Tennessee of two females that are Holly Bobo Act missing persons under TBI. So I'm there quite a bit. And
has he found anybody, like has he solved a case? Or he has, or I don't know if he has or if he hasn't.
And through that, it ended up getting to the point where they decided that they wanted to bring me on board.
Gotcha. So when you say that you had spoken to law enforcement and just had some people reach out to you, were these Sumner County? Were these Nashville, TBI?
It was people that were involved in the search and rescue, and they just had it was somebody that had a question about why some of my grids were going, and it just had to do with more of a search theory based on lost person behavior. So it was not. I'll tell you, it was not one of the detectives. It was not any of the agents involved. It was just somebody involved in the search and rescue efforts, which they're an extension of law enforcement.
All right. So, well, when you say, was this one of like, there's, there'll be,
he had a case of.
Trying to think of an exact example, but you've got organizations like United Cajun Navy, for example, that come in and they get involved. They might be requested by law enforcement, but they're not actually a law enforcement organization. Were the people you were talking to, were they like such and such county search and rescue?
Yeah, they were with the official search and rescue. No, United Cajun Navy, just to be clear, I have nothing to do with.
Oh, I know you don't have anything. I was just trying to go for an example of like a private organization versus a county one.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I don't want to build too much on that point, because there's not much to it besides there was people like reaching out, I think, to various experts. I mean, there's other large search and rescue operators around the country that have commented on this case on Twitter and stuff like that, and I think they interact with those people. When it gets to be, there was a lot of teams involved in this. I mean, and when it gets to be that big of an effort, and there's just nothing, like literally nothing to show for it, it's you start reaching out to other teams, because all of our
give me a second here. Amy, what's going on? Yeah, Ellie didn't speak to him, but he sure has tried to make it seem like they did. One of the major things that I took away from this was he tried to make it seem as though he knew for certain that Chris was at work. I don't know if Chris was at work or not, but he tried to make it seem like that law enforcement had told him, and then Aiden asked, well, did law enforcement tell you that yourself? And he said no. So I thought that was sort of disingenuous, and trying to make it's Yeah, that was kind of rough there to me.
Those models that we make, we build them on lost person behavior models. Those are all made from these algorithms through that. It's a program that went through the Department of Justice, just like NCMEC is the division of that are based on all the old search and rescue, all the old missions going back as far as you can go, put into these databases, all these variables. And now we have the ability to go in and key in, hey, we have a 15-year-old with autism. He's in this environment and this temperature. This is this mental mindset. It'll give us these unbelievably accurate models, and it'll show that it'll give us 25, 50, and 75% probability lines, of probability of detection and what those are. And in his case, I think it was 75% probability of detection within 3.6 miles, and it gives you how long the like what the most likely scenario to find them in is, and that's something I tweeted the whole
thank you, Jovi.
tactical report on that too. It wasn't like anything secretive or anything.
Gotcha. All right, so that's all very helpful to know and understand. I just want to, there's, like I said, there's been a lot of people claiming that you haven't even talked to law enforcement, or that these people don't know who you are, and then I see that and I'm like, all right, well, who's
Oops.
Who knows what?
So this is a very interesting point. He's I mean, there's 5,000 people watching. This will probably get close to 100,000 views. You might want to clear up whatever you're saying. I'm sure that law enforcement would be paying attention to this specifically. If he is hired by the Proudfoots, you would think that law enforcement would be watching this. And so, he's going to have to, this isn't Twitter. Okay. This is a different setting
here,
So let me be clear on that. So although I have a very good working relationship with TBI in my other cases, and in this case, I'm not trying. So when I came,
not trying to what?
I came into this case.
I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm working with law enforcement, because when you see him on Twitter, it certainly feels that way. He certainly acts that way.
I wish I knew the exact date. It's only been 3 months, 4 months. This case was law enforcement wanted nothing to do with anybody in this case. Right. You know what I mean? It was burned to the ground. They were like, we don't want any part of what's going on online. They're not, so they're shut down, and I don't try to communicate with them. I don't.
Well, that can't be true, because if he knows that, they had to tell him that at some point, because it seems like he would have had to have reached out to them and tried to talk to them.
So no, am I working side by side with law enforcement in this case? No, and I'm not trying to either. I don't reach out to them. They don't reach out to me. They 100% know I'm there. We gave them formal indication, and they responded back, and they said he's welcome on the case, and that was it. So, but we have not tried to. I'm not trying to work like I do in some cases, and that goes case by case. It just depends, the flow of the case. But in this case, there's no reason for me to, because it's too divided. If they worked with me, they know that sets people would just turn it into a whole PR stunt, and say, well, you're not working with us. And so to avoid that.
But is it a PR stunt if it's true? Like it's not a PR stunt if it's true. And it, come on. He's tried to make it seem like that he's working with law enforcement and that he knows things that nobody else knows. The only thing that he would know is what Chris and Katie have told him. And if they have told him any pertinent information about this case, and I hear him say this later on, he says, well, if I had any indication that they were involved in this or whatever, I would take it to law enforcement. $15,000.
Not give them any drama. I don't need, we're just.
His issue with Seth is that he's paid by the Proudfoots. That's his issue with Seth. Nothing else. That's the only issue he has with him. And Muscles, thank you so much for gifting 10 lab. You're very kind. Very kind. Okay.
Doing my own investigation.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying I'm working with law enforcement on this. I'm not.
Got it. That definitely clears some of the stuff up. And I'm sure that a lot of this is just some of the more drama-oriented channels, like taking one thing that they think they understand and then blowing it out to this whole community who then repeats it. But so if you're not working with law enforcement and it kind of became, it sounds like it was kind of an almost accidental thing that you ended up getting involved. Obviously you have, I don't mean to say that like it was completely by chance, but that like you weren't looking to get involved in this case.
Yes, right.
But so then you did, and you said,
I mean, I have no proof that he is or was trying to get involved with this case, but I will tell you this. I highly, highly doubt it that he wasn't trying to get involved with this case.
You had some conversations with Chris Proudfoot, and then that you ended up going and sitting down with him.
Now, here's the one thing, and I get, he's got the Aiden has this whole thing planned out, and he's talking with, I guess, an adversary. I don't know that during this conversation, when you want to hear from the other side, when you're like, I want to hear what, the other side, how you feel about it. He's paid for by the Proudfoots. It doesn't matter. You're not going to, what he thinks should only matter to the Proudfoot. Proudfeets. The Proudfeets. Okay.
At what point, though, did this become an official working relationship? And what I mean by that is, I guess there would be two stages to that. There's, you're actually actively communicating with him and saying, hey, I'm helping you out, versus, he's paying you or somebody is paying you. Like when did that switch happen?
Let me just pull up the retainer agreement so I can tell you exactly.
Yeah, I guess the question would be when were you officially
the
hired?
Retainer?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it so I can give you the exact answer. I'm trying to find the retainer agreement. It's I don't know. It'll take me 1 second here. Sebastian. It was. Oh, here we go. Opening.
I got to kill my camera for a minute because it's
11/14 of 24.
It's driving me
Okay,
nuts.
so it was November of last year.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's the official date.
It's choppy.
So who was paying you or is paying you?
Well, I don't want to disclose that, but I'm retained. I'll tell you that Chris and Katie are the signers on the engagement letter and retainer agreement, and but it's on behalf.
Kelsey,
of,
thank you for
I'm
gifting
working
10
on behalf
memberships. That's very
of
kind.
Sebastian. I am
You guys are
not
too kind.
My client is Sebastian, and they're the guardians that have the ability to sign. One thing I want to make clear is that I've never ever worked for a defense attorney or a prosecutor. I'm boots on the ground. I find people. I'm more search and rescue than anything. But when I work, if I was to find any, real evidence that Chris and Katie were involved, I would be the first one. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate for a second to contact TBI or whoever it may be. I'm not there to play defense or anything. I'm there to find Sebastian, and if they have anything involvement, then I'll make sure they're held accountable. I don't know what happened to Sebastian. I wish I could say I'm on the verge of cracking this case. I do not know. I don't know where he is, and I don't know what happened to him. And anything is on the table, so I'm not protecting them.
All right, so that definitely leads me into where I was about to go. I do just want to clarify one thing really quick, which was,
Sure.
You said Chris and Katie are the ones, so they are officially employing you. You're just not disclosing who is funding it. They signed the paperwork, is what I'm saying.
Yes, they signed the paperwork. I mean, I think yeah, there's no like trickery there. I just don't want to get too deep into it. But yeah, I mean,
I'm just trying to make sure that like we're putting
Yes,
out what you
I'm
said in the
employed-
most direct way possible.
I'm employed by them, but I consider myself working for Sebastian, and that's how my agreements are written. That I'm there working for the missing person, and this person's, signing as either as their guardian or as their executor or whatever it may be, depending on their age. If
I don't mean to be rude or point out the obvious, but is Sebastian paying you? I didn't think so.
they're, since they don't have the ability to do it.
Right. So, one thing, I mean, you may or may not be willing to answer this, but one thing that I've seen from you on social media, at least I've seen screenshots of tweets, and then I've gone and looked for a few of them to see if they're real. There's been some suggestions that you typically charge, I believe it was a $15,000 retainer fee and then $700 an hour. Is that correct?
The $15,000 minimum is correct. The $700 an hour is not great. So, everything I say gets taken seriously. So I get people, for instance, Lorna Betty. Yeah. she gives on talks about how she follows me from case to case to case. So she gets on and talks about how, oh my God, how dare he charge.
So he said that everything that he says gets taken literally or seriously.
Family $2,000, and I'm like, listen, I don't charge. Don't put it out there that I charge $2,000, because then people would think I can be traveling around the country for a $2,000 retainer. I can't be doing that. I'm much more expensive than that. And so sarcastically, like at one point, there was another guy giving me a hard time about this, and at one point I put in my bio my rate. My hourly rate is $2 million per hour. Mm-hmm. And the guy took it literally and started sending it all around the internet. It's just, so some of the stuff is like, it's like, you can't deal with these people anymore. And it's like, yeah, so that ridiculous. I'll be that ridiculous. And, so no, it's not. I will tell you my rates, my standard, rack rates are, probably average out. And I charge a daily rate. I'll just be honest with you. I don't do hourly. So okay. I charge because it's more, search based. So when I'm working on a day rate. So it's usually, about $2,200 a day. And then there might be it depends if we're bringing in thermal drones, underwater ROVs, because I own all.
I don't know how he comes off looking good in this. I really don't. And I mean that in the most polite and respectful way possible. He does not come off sounding good or looking good in this situation. It's a money thing, which is fine. He's allowed to do that, but don't act like you're some friggin' one of the disciples, wandering the country, trying to find missing children and missing humans because that's your passion. I mean, you do it for money. Okay. All right. Well, just whatever.
About equipment, it can vary based on that too.
I wonder, let's check in with Harry. What do you think, Harry? Do you think it's bullshit too? Bullshit.
So, but we do have minimums, because if I'm going across the country and bringing all this equipment, and if other operators are coming in, then, but with that said, about 70% of my cases are pro bono. Mm-hmm. So the money that I do bring in, I've been fortunate to work in some cases where families have the ability to pay that, and then that funds some other cases, so me or anything like that.
Got it. But in this case, you are a paid investigator.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I am. Yeah.
So I guess, leading into the next set of questions I had based off of, what you just said. prior to that question. You say you don't know what happened. If you did have evidence that it was Chris and Katie, you would take that right to the TBI. Do you think it's possible, I guess, that they are in some way involved in Sebastian's disappearance? And I don't mean that they were strict or difficult parents and he ran away. I mean, do you think it's possible that there is a foul play angle where they were involved?
If there is, I just have not seen any evidence of it yet. And I think that people got to realize that it's been a long time now. We're coming up on a year pretty quick, and you got TBI, you got Sumner County, you got FBI to an extent. You had Secret Service involved at the beginning. These are agencies. Like if there was something there that was really obvious, or even not that obvious, somebody would have been charged by now, even if without Sebastian being found. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing, and it is baffling. It really is. It's really hard.
That's what Chris says too. There's nothing. He says that a lot, which that may be true, but that's what Chris says.
Hard to wrap your head around this case, how this got pulled off, or whatever has happened, and I don't know what's happened. But I haven't seen it. But every day, do I run those scenarios through my head every day? Like, could it be this? Could it be that? That involves it. Absolutely, 100%. Do I do the same thing with Seth? 100%. Do I do it with possible extended family members? 100%. Do I think it could just be a 100% autistic walkaway situation, which is even though he's not an eloper, I get it. It still happens. 50% of autistic kids will run away. 50% will run away by the time they turn 18.
And 50% of private investigators charge $15,000 for something I could have told you for free. 100% of the time.
So it still could happen. And so do I think about that, and that he could be in a really weird crevice somewhere close to the house, kind of like we saw with Caleb Harris? Mm-hmm. I wonder about that too. But I don't know. I wish I had the answers. There's so little to go on in this. It's like we've collected a lot of evidence now, stuff that should help us lead to him, and it's not leading us to him.
100%.
I was looking around some cases today, just looking at the next thing to cover, because we do a new case every week. One thing that did occur to me is I don't know if you're familiar with the Joshua Maddox case.
No.
So I believe he was 16 or 17-year-old boy who disappeared. He was found 7 years later, stuffed inside of a chimney in an abandoned cabin 2 blocks away from his house.
Wow.
And at first they were like, oh, he probably, climbed in there, or was trying to break into the house through the chimney, something like that. And then they determined that, well, he couldn't have come in from the top because there was actually a metal grate up there. He was also found, he was only wearing a long underwear shirt, nothing else. He was found, I believe, upside down with his legs above his head in the chimney. And there was furniture in the way of the fireplace. So it didn't look like he could have gotten in there on his own 100%. At all. Led them to suspect foul play, but the one suspect they had was out of state and just a whole different thing. They dropped the ball on the case. So it did occur to me, like, maybe there was a situation like that where Sebastian is somewhere closer to home than everybody thinks.
So I will say that I firmly believe if this, and I don't know if it is, but if it's a situation where he snuck out of the house or walked away on his own, and he unfortunately hit a crevice or something like that, and this wasn't an abduction, then I firmly believe he's within 0.7 miles of that house still. I don't care how big the search and rescue effort was. I've been doing search and rescue long enough to know that people get missed, because when we're searching, we're searching certain. We're doing hasty searches at the beginning, not grid searches, and those are have about a 40% probability of detection,
Mhm.
30 to 40%, because what we're banking on is that the person we're looking for will have the ability to also see us and call out to us. And between the two, so we're covering more area quicker, but we miss people, and that happens. And then that's when these people get found. They're like, well, wait, they were like, I think Caleb was 300 yards or 300 feet or yards from his apartment.
He's
and
right on that.
tons
People
of
do.
other, there was a girl.
People do get missed. I point to the Casey Anthony situation all the time. EquiSearch, bounty hunters. You want to talk about a shit show? That was a shit show. And she was just right, basically down the road. I don't know why he says 0.7 miles. I have no idea. Maybe that's just what the statistic is. However, I sort of doubt it. But okay, I'll agree with that.
In Tennessee, her name just escaped me, but it was in a cornfield right behind the house that had been searched multiple times. So it happens. And one of the things that has really worried me recently, since I got a lot of surveillance footage from the neighborhood, over 100 hours worth, is watching the day of the 26th. There's cameras that are point out over the.
But you know what it tells me? If that he has over 100 hours of footage from the neighborhood, it tells me that there's nothing on that. I mean, I don't know.
Construction area.
I don't think Chris and Katie say that they were guilty. I don't think that they'd be sending you around going, hey, you should definitely go check that out. I mean, whoever, and I believe somebody took Sebastian, or did something with him. I don't think he left on his own. I think that they know that they covered their tracks pretty well when it came to camera footage.
And, watching that all day, including when the canines are there and there's other searchers, but the heavy machinery does not stop at all during the day and not throughout the whole day. And that includes just, I'm not sure, the bulldozers, whatever, the loaders of dirt, just filling this one retention pond area, one after another. And it worries me, like, could he have been hiding in a corner of that deep hole or something? And then the first load of the day, does it accidentally, I mean, I hate to say that, and it's tragic. And I know his parents may have been watching this, but it's a reality that we have to think about. And so that's why we're talking about, ground penetrating radar, now that we've seen that footage and been like, my God, because I thought that, or assumed that the
I really don't know. I
for the day, but
I was wondering that. I mean,
they were moving.
I think that he claims that he has solved some, but I don't know if I don't know. It's hard to say.
So much dirt,
I know one other thing that you brought up in a couple other interviews that you were mentioning was a lot of the caves and the areas behind that space. And I was just curious,
who's this dude?
do you know to what degree, because I know in previous conversations you've said that there were a few of them that you didn't feel comfortable going in because you didn't have anybody with you.
Who's this guy?
Do you know to what extent they've been searched at all?
So I know that, so I will say I have access to the what are Sartopo maps, which are what all the first responders use. And so they did clear a few of those caves, but there are a ton of them. And there's one in particular that they said that they couldn't clear because when they got to it, it was already partially collapsed. Like, it looked like a recent collapse. And also, like, we just on the last search out there, we found several of these. I don't even know what you call them. They're like huge vents, and they drop straight down. And I mean, it'd be really easy to hit one of those. So we cleared a couple. There's a couple that I wasn't comfortable with because I'm not on, like, search and rescue teams usually have cave specialists, and I'm claustrophobic. I'm not on that team, never will be. But there's other people, like Stephen Crabtree and Cletus and stuff that are local, and they know these areas really well, and they have been cleared. They've been dropping dropping cameras down into these, and they've cleared a lot. But there's so many of them left. But then you go, and they have to be checked. But then you go, if he doesn't
just bring
have
up
shoes,
Cletus,
how the hell is he out there? You know, and so that's the other baffling thing. So, to answer your question, there's still a lot that need to be cleared. You know,
I'm glad you brought up the shoe thing, because one of the issues with the case that I kind of noticed early on was that the dog there, to my understanding, scent tracker dogs specifically, I don't think there were any cadaver dogs brought into the house. And then obviously cadaver dogs and scent tracker dogs aren't always the same thing.
I mean, come on, dude. Cletus, that's your guy. Crabtree, that's your team. All right, dude. What's going on, everybody? Clue's going to go live, and I'm going to sit right next to her while I'm chained. I'm chained to her desk. I'll bring her a sandwich when she wants.
But my understanding is that there were never any scent tracking dogs that were able to identify a path leading from the house away.
So
I know there was one dog, Max, but he was a ground disturbance dog, right?
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. There's a couple conflicting stories about that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know 100% what the real one is. I'll tell you as I understand it. So originally I heard it like everybody else heard it, that Max, because from the dispatch audio, Max's handler, you know, he's on scene, and then all of a sudden Max is on set and Max is in the retention pond. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and then we had heard that, and I do know that there were a few dogs, and now these were scent specific dogs. Mm-hmm. So Max is not scent specific. Max is a, you know, he's an air scent dog. So he'll pick up anybody, you know, he's just looking for the strongest scent. Now, scent specific, meaning they have taken a scent article from Sebastian. So a trained handler will go in there with a paper bag and collect a scent article, usually a pillowcase or underwear or socks or something, and then they'll scent the dog, and then the dog will, you know, be nose down and as opposed to up in the air like an air scent, and we'll try and trail that. And so there was dogs that went out the front door to the left along the fence line, so it would be, you know, along their fence line, but there's a house over there, and then back up the fence line, kind of like it was coming back, mm-hmm. and then cuts across the neighbor's yard where there's no fence. Mm-hmm. So from that point, now that's what that's what was visualized of the canines doing. Okay, mm-hmm. So you can assume that's what they're doing. Now from there, once they're out of eyesight, we don't know, but we thought that they went up Kellen and also tracked to the retention pond. Mm-hmm. However, in the last month, things have changed as far as that goes, because I've got all the surveillance footage. I can see 20 for full. These are not like detection cameras. These were 24-hour rolling cameras. So I can see everything goes on. Now Max is driven up in an SUV mm-hmm. to the construction site, and then he gets out. He actually goes to one of the neighbors' yards for a second, and then they're just kind of like working around. He does end up on the other end over the retention pond. Mm-hmm. Then about 2 p.m., the first bloodhound, which is, I'm going to say, the first search and rescue dog that I see, anyways, unbelievable, comes up. Now, I thought search and rescue dog came up Kellen, and, you know, then right into the construction area, mm-hmm. but that's not what happened. The bloodhound actually came up, was already from down below, was already inside the new development, mm-hmm. and was walking along the fence line that separates the two, and walked all the way up to the top, essentially parallel with Kellen, but it was clear it was not on. That was something. He was not on a set. He does deviate. There's one area where he deviates hard left 90 degrees and goes down a hill. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know more about that. But then the handler, then they leave, and then they're at the top, and then you don't see them again. So they didn't go over to the retention pond. And I also on the SAR topo maps can see the tracking lines of the canines. and none of them confirm each other. They crisscross lines and stuff. So I don't have much faith left in the that there was any true.
I'm kind of starting to like Cletus, like sort of. Just kidding.
Kane, I think Max picked up a set. I just don't think it was Sebastian's.
Gotcha. So you would agree then that there's no confirmed scent trail from the house to anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
and I will people that are because I know there's a lot of confusion or a lot of talk about the canines. All the canines came from a separate areas. None of them tracked the same. You could tell they were all looking for. So it was very disappointing, to be honest with you, because it was like, oh, they don't have anything.
Right. So I guess the next logical question there would be you've seen these camera angles. You said you had hundreds of hours of this surveillance footage.
Over
100 hours. But
it's 101.2 hours. Aiden, stick with it, you LARPer. And not the kind of LARPing that people are talking about. Like, I think this guy I think he does live action role play stuff. There's people that do it at the local park here. And people drive by and like throw like milkshakes at him and stuff. It's really mean. I would never do something like that.
Did any of these cameras show the exits from the Proudfoot home?
No. Sorry. Of that particular camera. I'm sorry. Yes. The particular camera we're talking about, the K9.
No, I'm talking about just in general, like any of the angles.
So there's a camera across the street, and there's also a camera right behind them.
Right.
So I do have now the one across the street. Those people didn't know how to export their footage, and so I sat down. So what they did is they didn't know how to export all their footage. So they went through and they took out clips of it, and they also took some screen grabs of things they thought was important after going back and forth and or after scrubbing through all the footage because.
Yeah, I've heard a little something about this. Look, I mean, there's a reason he won't. There are lines in the sand that have been drawn, and that's not going to change. It doesn't matter who needs to be found or who doesn't need to be found, or who. It's immaterial to him because he's a paid asset of the Proudfoots. Well, I mean, I don't know what else you want me to do. If you don't get it by now, I don't know if you ever will.
Yeah, and I sat down with them for like 2 hours. What they said was that TBI, their footage was set to overwrite after 10 days, and nobody had come and collected their footage. They're right across the street. They're right across the street.
That's interesting.
Wait a minute. Let me check in with Harry really quick. What do you think, Harry? I think he's full of shit.
Wait, the most important camera there is by far, and they had come and seen a couple things, but they had not taken the footage. And so they went to the command center. The husband did, and he said, "Listen, take this footage. It's going to overwrite tonight."
Yeah.
So they finally did take it, but they also didn't. They don't have the raw footage back. So they gave me what they have, and it's a lot, and it has all the because there's, even though it's continuous rolling, it does also pick up have detections like with the tracking and stuff like that. So anytime a car comes in up and down that road, it picks it up. Anytime their lights at the Providence turn on, if they come, anybody comes in and out of the driveway at their place, whatever it may be, those are detected. And so I have that, and there's also a house behind.
Right.
So just to clarify really quickly, so they were able to get you the still images and the clips.
But the TBI has.
But the TBI was able to get the full footage.
TBI has the actual
Dude, I don't know who the other guy is.
It was cloud-based, but yeah, they have all the masks.
He's fire.
Can you see the front of the Proudfoots property, like the front door?
Absolutely.
Okay. So from what you've seen, is there any point at which anybody appears to enter or exit the home from the footage you've seen?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, keep in mind, it's footage from over a couple days, so yeah, definitely.
Well, I guess the night in question then.
That night, no. Well, they arrived home, and so I will say the one, like I said, they went through and they checked all their footage and they took out what they saw, and they captured what they saw, but what they didn't get, and what they admit they must have just missed, is when they heard that there was footage of Sebastian taking the trash out, the trash can out. That was news. They were surprised to hear that because they didn't see that. And so what the husband told me was, I was sitting with them at their dinner table. He said, he said, I didn't know if they were being real about that or not. And he's like, I went to the command center and I said, listen, I've given you all my footage and I'm just going to ask you one question. And he's like, but I really need to know this because this is my neighbor. And I just want to know for my own sanity, like, did you really see Sebastian on that footage or not? And they told him absolutely. And so I believe them. I don't think they're and keep in mind, Seth and everybody has said that they agree. So but I have not seen that. Just to be clear, I've not seen him taking the trash can out. There was some I can see, which is important to me, and I'm not going to get into the exact. There's going to be some things I can't say. I'm just going to tell you up front. But I've got it. And I think they've probably sent this footage. I'm sure they've.
Where's he start talking about?
Can I ask you about your dead son?
Yeah. There's a level of respect.
What?
And just to be clear, I think that's not the way to go about things.
There's proof, and then people help. But then lately, this cast of characters in these cases, there is absolutely no way I'm going to let some of these people, be able to see that because it.
Hold on.
Unusual or notable vehicles in any of the footage.
I do want to get to that in just a second. There's just one last thing I wanted to clarify with this video you're talking about, which I assume if it becomes relevant for the public to know, you would release it, right?
So, not necessarily, because listen,
if it's relevant for the public, then yeah, you would release it. If it's not relevant, then not. The answer to the question is yes.
I can bring that up and say, listen, this things that there's maybe some hope or something, but that's something that is for investigators, law enforcement, private investigators on the case. The public's not entitled to that. There's no reason to give that, because what happens is, look what happened look what happens whenever we release anything. They go to find out who these people are. They dox them. Look at the green herding person. I mean, geez, it puts that person's life in danger. Okay. So I can't do that. There's no way. I mean, there's been times when I've released footage when it's been good to release footage because it's like, hey, there's proof, and then people help. But then lately, this cast of characters in these cases, there is absolutely no way I'm going to let some of these people, be able to see that because it puts the person in harm's way.
So
they'll be in that part of the neighborhood, knocking on people's doors, demanding things.
Yeah, I don't. And just to be clear, I think that's not the way to go about things.
Without a doubt.
I mean, we've sat down and we've talked to parents of missing kids. We have talked to parents of murdered kids, and we've all. The goal is to be respectful about it. You start that conversation over in writing. You send them over something. You're like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this. Would you be available? And that's how we ended up talking with Tommy Booth's parents.
Yep.
Would never just go like, I can find where they live. I'm not just going to go knock on their door like, hey, can I ask you about your dead son?
Why not?
There's a level of respect that's necessary in these kinds of situations,
which is why we've avoided true crime for most of our content.
Yeah.
It just has such it so easily becomes drama content. That's not what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
So right before we get into I think the vehicles question is good because I definitely want to know about that as well. This footage you do have that shows this person, are they walking? Is it like, are they walking along the street? Do they seem to be cutting through a backyard? Like,
they come down a street. When I say down, I don't want people are going to think I'm talking downhill and stuff. But they come one way on the street, and then they pause for a while, and then they go back the way they came from. And then unfortunately there's like some they're on the street on the like along the edge of the street walking along with it, but then there's like some trees that kind of and then you lose them, and then there is other camera angles that but I can't see them. It's really frustrating. We don't see them again.
Jazz, that's really what he's paid to do. That's what he's being paid to do. He could say that he works for Sebastian. He can say that, he's impartial and that he looks at everything, with clear eyes. But I mean, the guy gets paid. He's on retainer. They have signed a contract with him. He works for Chris and Katie. If Chris and Katie said, hey, we need you to go hunt this down, or we need you to do this, or we need you to put that out, that's what he's got to do. I mean, he doesn't just have carte blanche to do whatever he wants. He's paid to fight what he feels is the machine of that's fighting against Chris and Katie. That's what he's getting paid to do.
Any of the exits, so on the not exit, but on any of the reverse angles, and we have myself and an analyst been going over this, and I mean we have spent day and night over and over. I mean it's really. I mean, he puts
stuff out about Seth, talks negatively about Seth. Okay, fair enough. He does not talk negatively about Chris and Katie, and if he's so morally superior where he's like, don't bash, I hear this shit all the time, don't bash the parents, don't bash the parents, don't bash the parents, while they bash the parents, he's obviously, you can tell he's paid.
Really frustrating because it's just like poof, they're gone, and we didn't even catch this person until maybe the fourth pass through. It's so faint, and we've enhanced it somewhere. It's a little bit more visible, but because there's actually another person that we've accounted for that's walking a dog, and so they're kind of like, kind of had our focus on there, but it looks like but they're not with this person because we've talked to the other person. So
right.
He insinuates that somebody other than Chris and Katie are paying them. That doesn't mean that, and I don't know who's paying them, but what he said was who has signed off on this is Chris and Katie. So wherever the money comes from, that's immaterial to me. The fact of the matter is he's paid, they're on a contract, they're signed.
So
yeah.
I guess, the next question there will be the vehicles. There was obviously this thing about 2 flashlights outside. There was a garbage truck. There was the fact that the camera had the wrong timestamp on it. Like all of these different issues with some of these cameras that showed vehicles. There was, I guess, an Uber that came through the neighborhood. There was a red car that people are like, well, why won't you release what you know about these individuals? I see where you're coming from with the, well, I don't want to dox people thing, but
I'm not even saying the guy shouldn't make a living or isn't entitled to make a living, or I don't know if he's good at what he does or not. I mean, it sounds like he has nothing. It sounds like he's getting paid and hasn't gotten anywhere other than he does fight online and put stuff out to go against Seth. And he, later on here, he talks about, I don't want to go tit for tat. And then he goes tit for tit totally.
At the same time, did any of these vehicles that you saw, did any of them stop by the Proudfoot house? Did any of them linger in the neighborhood? Like, was there any suspicious activity?
No, they didn't. So, the Uber, the only reason that I showed the Uber clearly, well, there was a couple of reasons I showed that. One, that it's been known about the Uber was there for a long time. And I think even the gentleman who got the Uber to go to the airport had put it on Facebook in the first day or two that he's like, oh, I had an Uber come at 3:30 in the morning. So that had been known. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't
a neighbor.
Not a neighbor. It was somebody in the neighborhood. It was somebody on Kellen. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't afraid to put that out. However, the other vehicle, which listen, I know nobody wants to take my word for it, but I can promise you, the car is not foreign to the neighborhood. It's known, and they are not. That's not known. If that person, I know people would try to find out who that is and whatnot, and they go after them. And this person, quite honestly, this person probably has no idea that people are trying to figure out what car that is and stuff.
But yet this guy has had no problem with the lady that did an interview with JLR, talking about her son being out there laying in wait like he's some sort of friggin' panther, looking to attack a small animal. I mean, I heard him say that, which is hog shit. And I mean, he really should apologize to that lady and her son. Yeah, because he had no problems putting her on Front Street because she goes against what he's selling. She's not buying what he's selling. And so that's, that he has no problem with that, but he wants to protect other people. Okay. I mean, okay.
It has nothing to do with anything. Unfortunately, keep in mind, we want to find the clue. So it's disappointing to us as well when none of these things are connecting.
So you say that this vehicle is not foreign to the neighborhood. Are you then saying that the vehicle is commonly in the neighborhood but is not owned by someone in the neighborhood?
That'd be fair to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not unfair to say?
Is this?
It's think of it like.
Do you know who the owner? Do you know who the owner of the vehicle is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were saying something. I don't want to cut you off.
Think of it as like there's daily like people that come in Ubers and stuff like that, or Amazon deliveries or whatever it may be. But you have this you have the same type of person for the neighborhood. So it's a known person, but not necessarily a resident.
So is this somebody with any known connection to the Proudfoot family?
No.
Okay. So not a family member, not a friend. All right. So I guess that's.
Yeah.
Is this somebody?
Keep in mind, there's a construction site next door. There's a lot of work going on. And I know that it's a weird time of morning, but there's still things that there's still workers and whatnot. It's not a worker from the construction area. It's I don't want to say, it's hard to say. It's a person that is in that neighborhood, in and out, several times a week, and it's a known person, and there's nothing, absolutely zero to it whatsoever, nefarious.
All right. So, I mean, is there, regarding the night, is there anything else you think is relevant to bring up?
All right. Well,
I think it.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so the thing is that when we were doing those recreation tests,
I don't care about that.
The allegation that for lack of a better term, Seth groomed her.
Oh, here we go.
All right, gotcha. So another Seth issue, something that I've heard you cite.
Rumor of the gap in time, but I don't believe that. To be honest.
So as far as you're aware,
I'm not the source of that. That they'd never be able to get me, to source me on that.
Okay, cool. So like I said, my only goal here is setting the record straight.
No, I appreciate that you're asking the question so people know that there's some stuff's been attributed to me.
Weren't these guys calling each other all kinds of bitches and stuff? Or I don't know. They're just, Laura Lodge, you smell. And he's like, SF, you look like Tim Robbins, or who's the guy from Mystic River that gets stabbed at the end of the movie and thrown into the Mystic?
People just throw things out there, and it's not true. I've never ever said that Seth was unaccounted for.
All right, gotcha. So Another Seth issue, something that I've heard you cited on, actually is with regards.
Well, you may not have, but other people certainly have.
To him and Katie and how their relationship began. Obviously, there's this, I think, 9-year age gap between them.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
something along those lines. But
yeah,
obviously, Katie's much younger. She had Sebastian when she was 18, 19
Yeah.
maybe. So one thing that I've heard is that basically the allegation that for lack of a better term, Seth groomed her from the time that she was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And then there's even been these allegations that they were having an intimate relationship before she was 18. Obviously, that's a pretty huge allegation to make. So I guess my question there is that something that, would you say that their relationship began when she was a minor? And then if so, what's your evidence for that claim?
Yes, I have said that, and I stand by that. And keep in mind, I speak with the source directly. You know what I mean? And I have no reason not to believe her. Seth's also confirmed this. Seth, I've got a screenshot right here on my computer of him in T-Rev's chat saying that Sebastian was the first child they had that wasn't aborted, and and he'd spoken before about how there was 2 previous abortions, and there's just no way to have 2 abortions and then have a baby or get pregnant at 18. And listen, I don't want Sebastian to get lost again in this, right? But I will say that listen, there was a relationship before she was 18. That's just the long and short of it. And if I don't know why he would go down that route, because he knows that can be proven. But I don't say about it. I don't want Sebastian to get lost in it. But if people just do the math, just based on what he has said himself, it's pretty evident. Now, listen, it's people have dug into their backgrounds, and they know that Katie has had a traumatic life, and so that might have been her best option, sadly enough, and I don't want to say anything more than that, but he's not the angel, you know what I mean, that people are saying, and Katie's getting run over. And it just breaks my heart sometimes because people don't understand that, or people I think do understand, but they just don't seem to care. A lot of them, the truth of the situation. And again, I don't think it needs to be about whether that right now. I think it needs.
Yeah, but that is for some reason he thinks that this is his trump card, where he's saying, "Look, Seth's a bad person. Look what he did look what he did with Katie. He can't be trusted. He's obviously a predator that, this or that." First of all, I don't believe any of that, but, and I don't think that Katie is a completely honest person either. But I mean, I don't know why he feels that he has the right to talk about this and protect everybody else but Seth. But then I come back to go, oh shit, I forgot. He's got a $15,000 retainer, and he's getting caked up by the day. So of course, and if you think for 1 second that he wasn't directed by these folks to put that out on Twitter, that he just out of sheer a magnanimous gesture to fight off the trolls, he puts this on the internet, I think you'd be mistaken.
To be about Sebastian, and without being this like, okay, only one side of the parents has got to be guilty and the other isn't. I don't know why. Why can't we just find Sebastian first? Sebastian, whether he's alive or not alive, will tell the story of what happened, right? And so why do we have to convict the person now? Why do we have to? It's not our job, anyways, to build a case for law enforcement. They're, we're talking about TBI.
So why are you accepting payment from these folks? Why are you, if this isn't your job to build a case or what, why do you accept payment for what you're doing? Like, why are you on retainer like a lawyer would be? You have you have a private investigator, and I believe they have lawyers as well.
In Sumner County and FBI, with the help of FBI, we can't do better than them, right? So what we can do though is we can help find Sebastian, and hopefully, I wish we could keep it at that. I don't know why we got to because what if you're wrong? Like, what if people are wrong, and how do you ever apologize for that? How do you ever make it right that you accused these parents of this horrendous thing?
Okay, but what about Seth, right? I'm not sitting here and I'm not champing for Seth. I like Seth. I do. And I feel that he's been vilified a lot. I don't think that everything that he's done is perfect, and I don't think that he would tell you that. But I mean, once again, we're meeting these people at the lowest point in their lives, all of them. But he can say whatever he wants about Seth. I mean, by putting that kind of stuff out there, you're not directly accusing him of being involved in this, but you're kind of indirectly accusing him of being involved.
So,
yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from there. I think what I would counter with, obviously, that I suspect Chris and Katie had something to do with this. What I would counter with there is that if this was foul play, then the chances you're going to find Sebastian drastically drop. It goes from he's, like you said, he's probably within 0.7 miles of the house to he could be in Memphis, he could be in Virginia, he could be in Kentucky. He could be at the bottom of the river for all anybody knows. So I think that's, for me at least, that's why I'm sitting here going, all right, well, what makes foul play look possible? So that's why I'm trying to get to the bottom of some of these things.
So here's how I see it. Okay, so they're accusing Seth, and Seth will defend himself. Seth and Tony, I'm sure they'll address it when they go on the show. But we're talking about him saying that Seth, did something in his past. I don't know the relevancy of it in other than, right, Center said, putting his character into question. Everything that is about Chris or Katie is, I think, pertinent because Katie was the last person to see Sebastian. He hasn't been seen since. She's the last person, allegedly. I don't know. I mean, that's what she says. That's what she says. And I don't know if that's true or not. You have multiple CPS reports. You have what a lot of people perceive is not searching. I don't know if they've searched or not. They say that they have, and I saw that they took some pictures, and I think that's the kind of stuff that's relevant.
Things, and obviously, like, that's with Chris and Katie. If he feels slighted, then that could potentially be motive. At the same time, there could
be Katie and Seth.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
If Seth feels slighted, then that could potentially be motive. In the same way that if Chris feels like for some reason or another Sebastian is a problem, he might have motive to do something about it. So I'm just trying to get kind of an understanding. Sure. So, but just come back really quickly to what you said about stuff Seth has said. Was it that do you have the screenshot? Like, could you share it?
Yeah.
If you use the share screen function? Yeah.
Well, I don't want to share my screen. Can I email it?
You can email it over to us and we can pull it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Yeah, let me just say, while I'm looking for this,
Go for it.
and that's totally, I get it. And listen, like I said, I go through that process daily also of what could have, right? Looking at it from, because I'm only following, like, I don't come up with a theory and then try and bend things to fit that. I change as like evidence. So then, so in like scenario you were talking about, which is fair to talk about.
If this guy's a true private investigator, and I mean, it sounds like he's licensed and everything, why can nobody lock down where Chris was?
If he was moved and they,
He should be finding out where Chris was. And I don't know where he says that law enforcement, I mean, he basically says that law enforcement said that Chris was at work. All right, fine. And then he's asked directly, did law enforcement tell you that? And he said, no, they didn't.
they find him. So you got to go through, okay, how would you get, we know he got to the house, right? We got, if we're believing that, if we're going to believe even Seth that he took the trash out, then how does he get out of the house to be moved? That would take like a vehicle and stuff. And who could have been involved? Because keep in mind, there's all kinds of digital forensics that, so, there's cell brights that have been done on, there's dash cams, there's of course the video surveillance, there's all these things that we know, her vehicle, onboard computer, like, so we know where vehicles were and were not, and when they were started and not started. And so then you can kind of limit down, like, okay, they didn't leave during this necessary time. And, also keep in mind that there's other stuff like,
I mean, that's true, but I mean, don't you think that he would go talk to people? I mean, he has no problem going and talking to the neighbors. I mean, wouldn't he go talk to people at the job site?
and I don't want to get deep into this. I'm just,
he's a private investigator. I mean, he's paid. Of course, he's not going to go because he's paid. He's being paid by the Proudfoots.
going to give you a general thing, but I mean, like Apple Watches and stuff that show people, so, we can tell, just like you can tell what people may have done by those.
Just like he doesn't want to talk about the CPS reports. And then he goes tit for tat. Well, if you know that, then you should know about this.
But you can tell what they didn't do either, like if they're asleep or whatnot, and still registering heartbeats and stuff,
Yeah, I don't wear my Apple Watch to sleep, partially because I don't want the government to know everything.
Really?
There's a reason I stick with analog watches, and that's why.
Why do you think that the government's tapped in on you, Aiden? Like they care what you're doing? I can guarantee they don't care what I'm doing. I certainly don't care what you're doing. So feel free to wear it at night. It'll be okay. Trust me.
One of them.
Yeah.
Analog watches from Holtzkern, a partner of the.
Let me just give you one second.
Yeah, sure, go for it. Because I just chat really quick with you, Thornbury, about kind of what I'm thinking here is, because it just occurs to me. Also, when we think about the JonBenet Ramsey case, we've been covering that lately.
Don't care.
Just with the layout of the house, there's no, and I'm not saying there's any excuse for that in the JonBenet case, but that was a much bigger house, I think, with, there's not really any hidden, but it was searched, and, keep in mind in the coming days after that, then they started searching like the,
So Katie left the house in the vehicle before any officers arrived.
Yes.
Okay.
She did.
Got it.
She did. I will say, because I know what you're, rightfully, or, smart to think about. I will say that because of the placement of the various cameras, and there not being that many streets in that development, you can see her like driving these grids essentially. She's never off camera in the car for more than 20, 25 seconds. Like she'll go up straight and then come down. And so I'm confident there, wouldn't be time to get rid of somebody, if you will.
Didn't she also head out east towards Gallatin at one point that morning?
Not that I know of. No.
I'll have
Not-
to.
I mean,
I'll have to
not
revisit that because you
Yeah.
watched the documentary we did earlier today.
I did. I can't remember if it was her going out during that search or if it was Chris going out later in the day.
Mhm.
But
One of them did drive out towards
somebody,
Gallatin.
yeah,
that day.
somebody went out towards Gallatin to look because there was a specific tie there that you had mentioned in the video.
Yeah, I feel like it was
Well,
Katie, but I
there
don't
was
know
a-
for sure.
So there was two specific sightings that were called in, I think, from law enforcement. There was one project, right? So there's cameras there. There's cameras at his campground where, because he stays in a trailer while he's at work.
Mhm.
There's cameras there, and there's YouTubers that are watching this right now that know there's cameras there because
Mhm.
they've been caught on those cameras and they know it. Snooping around. And yeah, so I'm 110% confident that he was there. And like you said, even it's Seth's own private investigators, both of them, because they were,
Okay,
so
hold on, let me go back here.
if so immediately and things that and some trust in, because I don't.
Definitely come up many times. And I struggled back when we started our coverage in July. Something that I was struggling to find a law enforcement source on, but I was able to find news media, private investigators. I think Seth's private investigator, Heather.
Yeah.
Heather. She had said that she confirmed Chris was in Memphis that entire night, but I was unable to find a law enforcement source confirming that. Has law enforcement established that Chris Proudfoot was in Memphis the whole night?
Yes, and I mean, and that is something that, again, is you're gonna.
So the question, and I'm going to end with this. The question was, has law enforcement confirmed that he was at work?
Have to kind of.
The whole night. Has law enforcement established that Chris Proudfoot was in Memphis the whole night?
Yes, and I mean, and that is something that, again, is you're gonna have to kind of have some trust in, because they're not gonna come out and say it, but
They're not going to come out and say it. Okay.
keep in mind that there's cameras. So the project he's working on is a multi-billion-dollar project, right? So there's cameras there. There's cameras at his campground where, because he stays in a trailer while he's at work.
Mhm.
There's cameras there, and there's YouTubers that are watching this right now that know there's cameras there because they've been caught on those cameras and they know it. Snooping around, and the owners of the campground area that have those cameras have confirmed they turned that over to the FBI.
Mhm.
I believe it was FBI or TBI, and some other things are that his vehicle, Chris's vehicle is Wi-Fi enabled. It also has OnStar.
Mhm.
Those are all things that and their phones. So people that watched the Murdaugh trial, which I didn't really follow that case, but I did watch the part when the testimony about the Cellbrite analysis, and it's incredible what they can do with the Cellbrite with the Cellbrite analysis. And I've been lucky enough, or I've taken some courses through Cellbrite, and it's shocking, and so immediately in Seth's too, they went and collected everybody's electronics and they cloned those, and they ran Cellbrites on them, so they know exactly where the devices were. They know where the vehicles were.
Blah, blah, blah.
Or they see them on surveillance.
Blah,
So if Chris had said that he was in Memphis at that job site and they found out he wasn't, he'd be arrested by now, because even if they said
not true,
he had nothing to do with it, lying to the FBI, and the FBI did question about that. Lying to the FBI itself is a crime.
they didn't arrest Leilani when she lied originally. They just stacked her charges, and she lied a bunch. And every single time that she lied to the investigators, they marked it down, okay, and they charged her with like 11 counts of it. But they didn't arrest her right away. They knew that she was lying.
You don't have to be so. Yeah, so I'm 110% confident that he was there, and like you said, even it's Seth's own private investigators, both of them, because they weren't hired at the same time,
Right.
but they both, I think, were on the record as saying that he was at work.
But okay, so just to be clear about it, has any law enforcement source told you that they have confirmed he was in Memphis the whole night?
It told me directly, no.
Okay.
There you go. All right, guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you for the gift of memberships and the super chats. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I know you've watched this before. But thanks for kicking it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. The answer is no. The answer to the question was no. That's the answer. No.
Dude, whatever, dude.
Do you not?
You fucked me up, dude.
Do you not?
dude.
Uh-oh.